Hello. Building an infrastructure suited to the cloud is neither easy nor simple. Traffic flows are different, both in their patterns and volumes, and the hardware and software that control those flows need to be specially tailored for the task in hand. So what are some good approaches to this task? We'll be hearing views from industry analysts, from vendors and from service providers. So let's start with representatives from Citrix, Dell and HP, who will describe their solutions to this challenge.
So the way Dell approaches cloud and cloud infrastructure is very simple. Okay, in terms of the concept, what we do is we sort of separate out three types of offering. There is the private cloud, easy, right? You package it, you virtualize it, both server virtualization, network virtualization, whether it's VMware, Microsoft, OpenStack, doesn't matter. Put it in, package it, send it out, right? So that's the easy portion. Then there's the public cloud, and Dell has lots of experience in terms of, most of the top, over 50% of the public clouds are built on Dell infrastructure. So what we know from them is they have taken principles of SDN and utilized it without calling it SDN, right? And so they are scale-out architectures. They are very, very similar gear that is non-proprietary, right? So server, storage, compute, etc. Very, very high-scale infrastructure with a large layer of their own software on top. Okay, so that's the public cloud, and then of course you have the hybrid cloud, right, which is a combination of the three. So our cloud strategy is to go to the carriers, customers, and get them to partner with the cloud of their choice, and we will onboard them, right? We have cloud management software that will allow applications to be migrated between and from cloud. We have so there's a high layer of software, but our strategy is to make sure that if the customer chooses to go to a public cloud, they're running on Dell infrastructure. If they have a private cloud, we sell them Dell infrastructure. And if it's a hybrid, it's a combination of the two.
So I think as we look at cloud and building a cloud environment, I think there's two key challenges. The first is making sure the user experience is the same across both the private and the public cloud. And I think software-defined networking has really been focused largely on the private infrastructures. But as we add these values into the mix, customers still want that across the public cloud as well. And that's why we're working closely with our cloud group within HP around our distribution of OpenStack. And again, since it's a distribution of OpenStack, all these things will get pushed out into the broader OpenStack environment as well for everyone to take advantage of. But looking at new ways of integration within the networking into those environments. So I think just in general, hybrid cloud infrastructures are definitely a challenge to get right. And the second area is looking at when we separate the physical and the virtual. So VMware, for example, came out with their NSX platform to provide network virtualization, and then other various vendors are doing network virtualization through, say, service provider technologies like BGP and MPLS for network virtualization. But inherently, whenever you separate the physical and the virtual, you end up with an interesting troubleshooting problem. But we like to look at it not necessarily as a challenge. I've actually given some talks on this, is that I started out with, okay, this is a huge challenge that we have to address. And we at HP have kind of come up with a way of federating those two environments, so bring in SDN and our SDN controller and the network virtualization platforms, federate them together to solve that problem. But what we also found is that there's actually some unique opportunities that we can address with it as well when we do that. So for example, networking has never really been good at keeping state and has never known context. So if you look at a virtual environment, the virtualization vendors, they actually know not only the state, but actual context of the virtual machines. They know maybe what application is running on it. And then when we combine that with the physical, we can actually address some long-standing challenges within networking, such as when you look at the data center and really big, large elephant flows and mice flows and this big contention of traffic, the networking community has been trying to solve this problem for 10 years. There's drafts in IETF, all of these things, but in the end it's a very difficult problem because we don't know state and we don't know context. With this federation, we can actually transfer that information back and forth and solve some of these challenges that we've had for a very long time in networking.
I mean, there is two challenges. If you are talking about a cloud or service provider or enterprise account, let me first start with the telco so cloud and service provider. Normally speaking, the cloud and service provider, they need to forecast what is the capacity demand in the next coming years, and then basically they do that. But it's complicated when you don't know what is the traffic demand that you will have. And then nowadays this is possible, but the way how the telco and cloud is doing that is basically putting more server, putting more blades, more networking infrastructure. But it's something that is complicated to manage. And then basically what we are doing is providing a more flexible solution to those telco service provider enterprise. And then Citrix, we have a technology that we call NetScaler. Basically, we're using a technology called Tri-Scale. Tri-Scale is basically power in three ways that we'll explain you now. Basically, you can scale in, you can scale out, and you can scale in as well. And basically, when you want to scale in, basically, you need to pay up you grow, you need to scale in a simple way, and just in seconds, we can provide that solution to scale out, to scale in for those companies. When you need to scale in terms of capacity, or you need to get more customer hosted in the same devices, we can grow up to 32 folders, giving a kind of cluster solution to scale up to those customers. However, when you need to consolidate and to put a kind of multi-tenancy, different customer, different virtual operator, or when enterprise want to host different departments, we can host up to 32, up to 80, multi-tenancy, where we'll allow the customer to grow. I mean, basically, what we are providing is a more agile infrastructure solution that will be hosted on the enterprise and as well in the telco. You have to give you some figures. Last year, we get more than 4,000 new customers on the enterprise, on the telco provider using our technology, and mainly because thanks to that agility and virtual situations, those customers will be prepared for the SDN journey.
What about the cloud providers? What would they recommend for a potential customer? What would their ideal solution look like? Let's hear from Tom Homer of Telstra.
Well, at Telstra, we believe that it's really important to give customers choice, and that's where our solutions are based on hybrid cloud infrastructure. But one of the things that we think is really important is security. So we'd like to make sure that customers have really thought that through, and we'll help them to come up with the right answer. Latency is also important, whether that's for geographic reasons or application reasons. Again, location of data center is something that our customers care about, particularly when it comes to data sovereignty when they're operating in emerging markets. Of course, you know, the other thing to bear in mind is the fact that customers want to make sure that they've got the right degree of control, so making sure that they have portals that are relevant, the right kind of systems to control and deploy quickly.
We provide for our customers all the requirements that they need to run their applications. And one of the things that they require is to know exactly what they are buying. And what we face today about this cloud infrastructure is that not even always the people are focused on what they are buying. They don't know what they're really buying. The concepts of the vCPUs, ECUs in terms of Amazon, for example, they need to know exactly, because they're going to run their applications run over that infrastructure, and they need to know what they are really buying. Not only about this term of technology, terms of resources, but also in the specific locations where the information is also something that we feel that our customer is very important to know where it is located, and if it's in Lisbon, in Paris, or in other different city. But I think that's the most of the infrastructure there, what it is and where it is, the information. Yeah.
Are we headed in the right direction? Here's what industry analysts have to say.
Cloud infrastructure is heading in exactly the direction that it needs to head. Let's put it that way. Because right now, taking into account that cloud infrastructure is a very wide kind of term and poorly defined, the issue is that we are solving problems as we go. So There are still best practices being defined. There's still a lot of work to be done in unexplored areas, more or less. And as the consumption of cloud services increases, the best practices are going to coalesce around a certain set that is going to become common for the whole industry. So I think it is developing the way, in a kind of chaotic way, trying to coalesce to a set of best practices that are going to be used in the future.
And what's the outlook?
Cloud services are going to continue to grow by at least 25% per annum in revenue terms. And what we include in cloud services is going to be infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and of course platform as a service, and the top line, and the vast majority, of course, being software as a service. The next important question is to see who gets the spoils, right? And there's a vast difference in terms of the winners in infrastructure as a service and software as a service, and there's an almighty fight going on. And it's about volume versus margin, and that will differentiate the men from the boys, the types of organizations that can live on a retailer's slim margins of single digits and those that need to have margins in the 20s or 30s to satisfy their CFO. And I think that's going to sort out a few different players in the cloud market going forwards.
Obviously, there's a very strong growth curve that will continue. I can't put any percentages on it, but it's clear that we are expanding our internet universe. And we've certainly heard from several network providers like Infinera that they're seeing an uptake in 100 gig. Intel is selling a lot of 100 gig kit. So we're bypassing the 40, we're going straight from 10 to 100 gig. And of course, the Internet of Things will generate yet another new massive flow of data telemetry that will flow somehow across the network. Then of course there is the data centers themselves that are expanding and are typically doing that in several different geographical locations to spread the risk of catastrophic breakdowns or electricity, whatever. So you have the east-west traffic, the traffic between buildings in a data center and indeed between servers and data centers. And there, the traffic volumes are ramping up very quickly as well because we are combining video streams, advertising streams, content streams, and all that is from different servers. So the traffic east-west is going to be quite significant, and we'll see that ramping up very quickly.
The outlook is fairly simple to define. The consumption of cloud services is increasing. The number of enterprises and individuals using cloud services is increasing every day, to the point where we actually see that there's a very small percentage of companies that don't consider or do not use cloud services. That means that cloud services in general are going to continue to be a growing market. What is going to be the margin on those services remains to be seen. It is the standard that has been set by the web scale companies is quite low. So it remains to be seen how profitable the business is going to be, but there is no question about whether it is going to grow or not. It is going to grow significantly.
So, hybrid cloud is the goal, but the process is ongoing and complex. We're thinking on our feet, and there's a long path ahead of us. Yet there are plenty of opportunities. Fasten your seatbelts.